when I wanted to become the next Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett used to be my #1 idol in the world of investing. I admired his discipline, his long-term vision, and the power of compounding that he dedicated his life to. At one point, I bought nearly every book with Warren Buffett on the cover. I tried to learn every strategy he used, copied every principle he preached. I wanted to become the next Buffett. I dug up everything I could, how he picked stocks, how he analyzed businesses, especially the secret of compounding interest, which he once called the 8th wonder of the world. But you can probably guess how that turned out. The wake-up call. Everything started to shift when I heard what Buffett said about Bitcoin. May 2018, Bitcoin is probably rat poison squared. Also in 2018, cryptocurrencies will come to a bad ending. And in 2022, I wouldn't take all the Bitcoin for $25 because it produces nothing. Each quote felt like a splash of cold water. And I started to wonder, am I worshiping an ideology that no longer fits the world we live in? I began digging deeper, not just into Bitcoin, but into the entire mindset of investing I had memorized like gospel. And then the truth came out. I realized something. I'm not Warren Buffett. And I don't need to be. I started adjusting my thinking. I opened my mind to new opportunities where growth didn't come from compounding, but from leverage and fast market insight. And because of that shift, I reached financial freedom much earlier than I ever expected. I used to idolize the word investing and saw legendary investors as the ultimate role models. But now, it's different. I still learn from them, still observe them, but I no longer follow them. I walk my own path now. And along that journey, I've come to see a truth that few people talk about. Compounding isn't for everyone, and not everyone should invest like Buffett. Because something big has changed. Before we continue, I truly hope that everyone watching this video takes away something meaningful. Buffett and crypto. Was he wrong, or are we just living in different eras? Many people wonder, why doesn't Warren Buffett invest in crypto? Why does he call it a scam? Even rat poison squared? The answer isn't complicated. Buffett is a traditional investor. He was born, raised, and built his fortune in a world where value came from manufacturing, commodities, and real cash flow. And he had every reason to defend that kind of value. He didn't invest in tech because he was honest about what he didn't understand. Buffett openly admitted that he avoided tech because he didn't understand it. And that's a good thing. He didn't pretend, and he didn't chase what he couldn't grasp. But it also means one thing. He didn't invest in the assets that created the most wealth in our era. If you were alive in 1960, where would you invest? Answer: manufacturing, insurance, consumer goods, exactly where Buffett went. But if you were alive in 2010, 2020, where would you invest? Probably not in traditional banks or steel companies. The proof is in the numbers. Tech is dominating. Just look at the list of the world's most valuable companies today. Nvidia, once underrated, is now the most valuable company in the world. Meanwhile, Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, while still massive, has been overtaken by newer tech giants. If Buffett were born in 1985, would he still choose Coca-Cola? Here's a real thought experiment. If Warren Buffett were born in 1985, would he still invest in Coca-Cola and American Express? Or would he be looking at Apple, Nvidia, Ethereum? He might still value long-term thinking. He might still seek solid businesses, but it's almost certain he'd find that value in different places. Places where technology is transforming the world at unprecedented speed. Final message. Learn from Buffett, but don't live like him. Warren Buffett is absolutely worth learning from. But if you live in a different era, with different tools, speed, and context, you can't apply 100% of an old playbook to a new world. Take his caution, take his discipline, but don't let that caution blind you to the opportunities moving right in front of you. The problem with compound interest. It takes a long time to actually work. When people hear about compound interest, they often imagine this magical scene. Money makes more money. That money makes even more money. And one day, you'll be rich just by sitting back and waiting. Sounds great. But here's a truth that few people will tell you. Compound interest is like growing a pine tree, not weeds. It takes a long time to grow. In the first 5 years, almost nothing exciting happens. You might see small gains each year, but they're too slow to feel meaningful. Imagine you invest $10,000 and earn 7% annually. After 3 years, you'll have about $12,250. Barely different from a savings account. And then the doubts start to creep in. Wait, where's the miracle everyone talked about? Maybe I should pull out and do something faster. And that's exactly why most people never see the real power of compounding. They quit before it has a chance to explode. The real magic of compound interest doesn't show up until year 10, 15, or 20. That's when the curve starts bending sharply upward. And once it bends, it's hard to stop. But to get there, you need 3 things most people don't have: time, patience, and belief. It's like building a time machine. Compound interest isn't for the impatient. It's for those who can stay the course and wait for the reward that only shows up in the future. Before we delve deeper, don't forget to follow the channel for more truths about money and to help you achieve financial freedom faster. Compound interest only works when returns are high and consistent. You've probably heard this before. Just invest a few $100s each month, leave it for a few decades, and boom, you're a millionaire. Sounds simple. But real life isn't as pretty as the brochure. Compound interest only truly works when 2 conditions are met. The rate of return is high enough, and it stays consistent over a very long period of time. Let's say you invest in safe assets like government bonds or money market funds. Average return, around 5% per year. After 10 years, your money does grow, but not by much. Because once you subtract inflation, typically 2-3% per year, your real return is just 1-2%. In other words, you're barely preserving your money's value, not actually growing it. Now, compare that to investing in stocks or growth assets, where you might earn 10-15% annually. That's where compound interest really starts to shine, especially after 15-20 years. That's when the curve bends upward and your wealth multiplies fast. But here's the catch. Assets that offer high returns usually aren't stable. 1 year, you might gain 30%. The next, you could lose 25%. And when returns are inconsistent, the entire compounding model breaks down. Compound interest loves smooth, steady growth, but markets are messy, bumpy, and unpredictable. If you blindly follow the formula of just invest regularly and you'll get rich, without understanding the volatility behind it, you're setting yourself up for a false sense of security. Compound interest won't automatically make you rich. It's just a tool. And like any tool, it only works when used the right way, by picking the right assets, managing risk, and most importantly, maintaining stability in an unstable world. The inflexibility of compound interest, your capital gets locked up. Compound interest only works if you don't touch the principal. The longer you leave it untouched, the more it grows. But the moment you interrupt it, the whole system breaks down. The problem? Real life isn't a math model. You might plan to invest for 20 years, but by year 3, a parent needs money for medical treatment. You lose your job. You want to move, have a child, or pursue a dream. And just like that, you're forced to pull out your capital early, back to square one. Compound interest only works if you're strong enough to leave it alone. But most of us, especially in the middle class, don't have that luxury. Compound interest is inflexible. And sometimes, that very lack of flexibility makes you miss better opportunities, or leaves you helpless when life throws a curveball. That's why you shouldn't go all in on the compound interest stream. Keep part of your cash flow flexible. So when life calls your name, you don't have to choose between your money and your peace of mind. Don't stretch time, compress it. People often say, just stay consistent, one step at a time. Be patient, and you'll get there. That's not wrong, but it's not the full picture either. But there's another way to think. Instead of stretching out 40 years of average effort, compress it into 4 years of intense, focused action. That's the mindset Paul Graham emphasized in his essay, How to Make Wealth. He wrote that startups are a way to compress energy, time, creativity, risk, and returns into a short, high-impact window, and from that, create extraordinary wealth. This isn't about working more. It's about working with sharper focus. When you pour intense energy into one thing, something difficult, meaningful, and highly leveraged, when you channel your skills, time, network, and emotions into a clear goal for just a few years, your ability to create value multiplies. You don't need 30 years to reach financial freedom. Some people do it in 3 or 5 years, not because of luck, but because of extreme focus at the right time, with the right strategy. This is the season where you should go a little crazy. When you're young, full of energy, and not yet tied down by family, health, or obligations. That's your golden window to compress yourself and break through. This isn't the stage to optimize for compound interest. This is the stage to learn the fastest, make your biggest leap. Once you've built your foundation money, skills, network, then it's time to let compounding take over. In other words, compound interest is great, but it's a game for people who already have capital. If you're still small, focus on playing the acceleration game first. Compress yourself. Work like you only have 2 years to change your life. And once you've built meaningful assets, let compound interest grow it, scale it, and protect it for the long run. I didn't make this video to dismiss compound interest, and I'm certainly not discrediting Warren Buffett, a legendary investor I still deeply respect. But here's one important thing I've come to understand after all these years. Compound interest is mathematically sound, but if you apply it in the wrong context, at the wrong time, or to the wrong person, it can lead you in the wrong direction. If you're young, have limited capital, and live in an era of rapid change, what you need may not be a slow, steady upward chart. What you might need is a leap, a breakout, a compressed sprint that explodes into something far greater. Learn Buffett's discipline. Respect compound interest as a long-term tool, but don't blindly apply 20th century thinking to a 21st century world. Every era has its own version of compounding, and sometimes the path to freedom doesn't look like anything you were ever taught. Before we continue, I truly hope that everyone watching this video takes away something meaningful. When even the US government changes the game. If you've made it this far, there's one more thing I want to share, something crucial, but rarely talked about. The financial world is shifting. And this time, even the US government isn't sitting on the sidelines. Just last month, President Trump signed a new law called the Genius Act. At first glance, it sounds like a stablecoin regulation. But in reality, it's a quiet yet ambitious restructuring of the US financial system. Not because they love crypto, but because they fear losing control. This law wasn't born out of enthusiasm for digital assets. It came from the fear that if stablecoins grow too powerful, the government might lose control of the USD market. The fear that players like Tether and Circle, once dismissed, are now quietly buying massive amounts of short-term US treasuries. And every time the crypto market swings and users rush to redeem stablecoins, these issuers are forced to dump T-bills to maintain liquidity, causing serious ripple effects on the U.S. short-term yield curve. A stablecoin law that's actually about restructuring the USD itself. The Genius Act passed the Senate with a 66-32 vote, nearly unheard of in today's deeply polarized America. Why? Because lawmakers know this isn't just a crypto bill. It's a move to reclaim monetary control, shifting power from the Fed to the Treasury. Here's what the law mandates. Stablecoins can be issued freely, but 100% of reserves must be held in short-term T-bills. That means every new stablecoin minted equal a direct purchase of U.S. government debt. No need for the Fed to print money. No need for QE. As long as people keep using stablecoins, the government has round-the-clock buyers for its debt. Every EVM wallet just became a mini reserve of U.S. Treasuries. Compound interest is just a tool. But when the entire financial system rewrites the rules, you need to rethink your framework. You can keep running your models based on an 8% annual return. But if capital is flowing into crypto, if governments are restructuring debt markets via stablecoins, if the world is entering a brand new phase. Thanks for watching all the way through. This video isn't here to convince you to invest or to chase the next trend. It's just a reminder. The world is changing fast. And if you're not asking new questions, you might be investing in a past that no longer exists. If you found this video helpful, a simple like or subscribe would be a big encouragement for Mr. Simple Bob to keep sharing simple yet valuable ideas.